in the Dust by Margot Theis Raven, illustrated by Roger Esley. Sometimes when the wind blows hard, Great-Grandma Annie tells us a story from long ago about dust winds and tin cans and the day the angels danced in the sky. She always begins by telling us about the land. Time was, children, when I was a young girl, I lived on a wheat farm as flat as a breadboard. The farm was on the Panhandle Plains of Oklahoma. That's where the land reaches out straight as a handshake, like the end of a pot. Our little house on the farm was small and brown. It had only 2 rooms and a lean-to kitchen for Mama, Papa, Bessie, and me. I was the oldest and was named after Mama because Papa said I had Mama's eyes, as big and blue as a bowl of prairie sky. When I was 12 and Bessie was 6, our sky, so big and blue, turned dark and fierce in the middle of the day. Great dust storms came blowing. They came with the drought that took hold of the land. No rain fell for a long, long time. Mean new winds came blowing too, scorching hot and stiff as a dragon's breath. They withered our corn. They withered our wheat. They baked our land bone dry until it looked as cracked and old as Mama's white milk pitcher. Soon nothing grew in Papa's fields except great piles of dusty earth. When those dust winds blew at night, dirt came right through the cracks in our little brown house. Before bed, Bessie and I always stuffed the cracks with old newspaper scraps and hung wet sheets over the windows to keep the dirt from blowing in. Still, it came to call like an unwanted visitor. It covered our faces with sandy grit as we slept, and in the morning our pillows would be brown, except for the spots where our heads had been. Most mornings, too, we'd find the dust from the night lying sandy and dark across the kitchen table. After chores, I liked to trace my name in the dirt, as if it were a chalkboard. Sometimes I helped Bessie write out her name, pretending I was a teacher. Mama always smiled when she saw me giving lessons in the dust. "Annie," she'd say, "you make me think nothing's so bad that it isn't good for something." But it was hard to find anything good about the dust that took Mama. One day, in the early fall, she started coughing. Her coughing grew worse and worse. The doctor called it dust pneumonia. "I'll be better soon," she promised. But Mama never got better. She died just after Papa's planting, when the winter wheat lay in the ground, waiting for the snows and growing rains. But the sky didn't cry for Mama like Bessie and I did. No rain fell. Papa held us close. "Mama's an angel now," he told us. "Is an angel like the dust?" Bessie asked. "Going anywhere it has a mind to?" "Just like the dust," Papa said. "Always, everywhere." With Mama gone, I kept house for Papa and Bessie. I didn't mind the hard work, but the dust made my long days even longer. On Mondays it grayed my wash drying clean on the line. On baking days it sifted down the walls and covered my bread rising high on the back of the cook stove. And whenever a black blizzard blew, I could barely get a meal to the table for the dirt in the air. Black blizzards rolled down from the north and smothered the sun. Bessie and I thought they looked like the end of the world coming at us. One Sunday in April, Papa got lost in the worst black blizzard of all. He was high on the north quarter when the big roller hit. As fast as we could, Bessie and I gathered in the livestock and ran into the house to wait for Papa. We huddled around the kitchen window and watched. The boiling black dirt wall blowing towards us with big chunks of earth tumbling inside it. Soon the air in the room grew thick and we couldn't see the hands in front of our faces. Bessie was so frightened she held me tight and cried. "Hush, honey," I soothed. "Papa will be home soon. And Mama's keeping watch." "Is she still an angel?" Bessie asked me through her tears. "A beautiful angel," I said, "dancing above the clouds." Just then, Papa stumbled in the door. He was black as Mama's frying pan and nearly choked to death from the mud-thick air, but we were never so happy to see him. On one slow spring day, when no dust storms came blowing, I took care of Mama's garden. It was her special place, her growing quilt, she called it. I turned over the tired earth and sowed in rows of English peas, tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, and beets, and every kind of bean, waxed, green, and butter. Then, day after day, I drenched the ground with heavy buckets of water I carried from the well. But the hot sun and dry winds just wilted my sweet new greens pushing up from the ground. Papa watched me sadly and shook his head. "2 hands in a bucket can't make rain, Annie," he said. Then one morning when I was shoeing a kitchen from the barn, I found a pile of old tin cans. Suddenly, an idea began sprouting up in me like the seeds in my garden. My idea was a tin can pipe, making lots of hands and buckets work together to bring water to my garden. I took the bottoms of the cans to hollow them out. Then I punched the sides through with nail holes and buried them, touching end to end, just under the ground. The next day, Papa ran water through my pipe from the windmill. Our windmill pulled our water up from the ground. Papa kept the windmill running all day and night. Then he rimmed around the garden with gunny sacks to keep the storms from blowing it away. Soon my garden turned as green as a spring meadow. Papa called it a fine sight. "Pretty as Mama's growing quilt," he said. Papa, Bessie, and I ate well from the garden all summer long. On Saturdays, I raised money by selling beans and cucumbers for $1 a bushel in town. Often I gave my vegetables away to people who couldn't pay. It just seemed like the right thing to do, life being so hard. "Your Mama would be proud," folks always said to me. Papa was proud too, he said. In August, I canned up my vegetables in glass jars. I put a perfect seal on the top of each, just as Mama had taught me, to keep summer safe inside. But nothing could keep Papa's wheat and corn safe that summer from the drought and blowing winds. When his crops didn't make good, the bank wanted to take our farm. So Papa took a job with the county, leveling off the dirt drifts on the road to town. It was hot, dangerous work in the blowing storms. But with the money he earned, we were able to keep our home.